Good afternoon, it's Pastor Jerry again with Raised Ministries, and I'm here at the Teaching Gardens in Kannapolis, North Carolina. Sorry I'm not trying to get any image going here. It's just, it's a bright winter's day. Today is the 29th of November, and I want to share with you, for those who may be looking at urban gardening or suburban gardening or whatever else, what we teach here is permaculture, permanent agriculture. Primarily we have the Teaching Gardens. We have 7 here as we teach the good news of gardening. It's obviously the winter time. We have a few things that are planted that'll come up as a fall crop. But I'm winterizing the gardens. You may have seen some of that teaching over the last couple of days. But I want to share with you about chickens. I've really grown to love growing these chickens up. I got them all as chicks. I've also got 8 from the breed called Orpingtons. They're buff Orpingtons. Buff just means they're brown. That's the color. And they've been so much fun. But I have to share with you because I love to learn. A year ago, you could have put what I knew about chickens in a thimble and have had room to spare. So I want to encourage those of you who aren't excellent at gardening yet. My best students are those who don't have a lot of experience, who may say they have a brown thumb. I was terrible at gardening, but when you learn from other folks, you get a good mentor. I could serve perhaps as that for you, either by video if you wanted to come here to Kannapolis and train, and read some books and view some quality videos on YouTube. I hope this will be one of them. But because I didn't know anything, I bought a couple of books on poultry off of Amazon, went to our public library and checked out a couple. I do recommend to you again, even though I'm not a poultry expert, I probably am a honeybee expert. One of the best texts for honeybees is Raising Honeybees for Dummies. So I bought Raising Chickens for Dummies and learned a great deal. One of the things I've continued to learn is this is grit. In our Teaching Gardens, we put down pea gravel, hopefully to keep down the weeds, and it didn't. It had no effect with that. This place was 9 feet deep in Johnson grass and weeds I couldn't identify. So we've been battling that and still do. But now I use it as a great teaching tool, because if you were here between my gardens, in the summertime, it's a jungle. I have to mow it twice a week between the gardens, as we have walkways there so folks can circumnavigate them. And but in the gardens themselves, very few, I don't want to say if any, but there are not many weeds at all because of the use of mulch. Using 4 to 6 inches of mulch as our top layer. That's a different thing. So as I learn about chickens, I've learned about grit. So I'm putting out grit. We do have pea gravel, but I think it's a little large for them. If you don't know, chickens, they have beaks, but they don't have teeth. And so when they eat their food, it goes into a bulge, if you will, on their digestive tract or on their esophagus, and that's called a crop. That's where they store the food until they're ready to digest it. And they need grit because they don't have teeth, as we human beings do. It goes into their gizzard. You may have heard that. I don't particularly care for chicken gizzards. I do like chicken livers. And this little grit that they'll eat, it goes into the gizzard and it grinds their food. So I'm putting out, because I've learned that from the books and from another gentleman by the name of Jim Robertson, who commercially raised chickens for Holly Farms back in the day when I was a young man in North Carolina, or actually a teenager, and then Tyson Foods bought them. So Jim told me they need grit and they won't overeat grit. Some of them are coming to it now. But what I wanted to share with you, the reason I'm doing a lesson on grit is because we utilize what we have. And I was at a friend's in Wendell, North Carolina, at his neighborhood this past Sunday night, and they had, everybody was putting their pumpkins out. So they went to research, and pumpkins are a great source of supplemental food to chickens. And so while they're over there fooling with the grit, I'm gonna bust one because it's so hard. But this one's, it was for Halloween, so that's been almost a month ago. And now, hot dog, that went pretty good. I hope I don't have seeds in my hair. But now we break it open, and one of the things I learned to do this, it's a great source of some nutrients, supplements for the chickens. Now you see the one that I just busted open, and I'm gonna bust another one in a minute because that was kind of fun, but I don't want to tempt fate. They're already working it over, and this one is one that I put in yesterday, so I'll come a little further. You see how freshly popped that one is, if that's a term for pumpkins. This one, there's still some fibrous material in it. You can see this part, it's just skin left. And I mean, it's just the rind. I don't know what the proper term, the skin, the outer layer of the pumpkin. So I think I'm going to throw that by the door, and I'll put that in the compost pile because there's virtually nothing left. This one you can see all the seeds that are very nutritious for human beings as well as chickens. They're all gone. There's some of the fibrous material that we'll try to scrape out sometimes when we're doing a jack-o'-lantern perhaps. So they'll still work this over. Man, they're going at that grit. Ladies, you turned it over. Let's be careful. That costs money. So anyway, hopefully they'll be good stewards of the grit. I'm thankful to learn that they won't eat more grit than they need. And I imagine they're just getting enough because this pea gravel is a little large, I'm sure, for their gizzards. They're working over this pumpkin here. I'm going to go get another one, but I'm not going to tempt fate. So the reason I give them grit is because with commercially formulated organic feed we give to them, it's sometimes crumbles and sometimes pelletized. When they're very small, we use the crumble, but they'll tend to spread that out and waste it. So once they get to the place they're juvenile or mature birds, I give them pelletized because they don't waste that as much. We try to be good stewards of everything. Feed, the earth, time, weather, water, money, all those things, and be good stewards of it. So that's why I use pelletized, but they can digest that. It's formulated in such a way it'll break down in their system, but they need grit for things like weeds, grains, scraps that are healthy for them from the table, and pumpkins. So this is Pastor Jerry with Raised, and I hope that you learn something. If you in a place, a lot of municipalities allow chickens in the city limits now. They may have some stipulations about roosters because roosters crow and some neighbors don't care for that. We've got good neighbors here, and we're on the campus of the Church of God Children's Home here in Kannapolis. So it's a wonderful symbiotic relationship. I love them and give a shout out to them and all the wonderful work they do for children at risk. And it's great to see that redemptive process. Say a prayer for us. This is also the season of giving. And we pray, first of all, that you give yourself to the God who created us all in God's image. And he gave us to give ourselves to others, as the scriptures tell us that the greatest commandment of all is to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is likened to it, Jesus says, to love our neighbor as ourselves. And that doesn't mean to love ourselves less. To love our neighbor as ourselves presupposes that we have self-love, just as God has a proper self-love for ourselves, just as God has an amazing love for us. And so we say, God bless you as we move towards Advent season. And in your giving, we wouldn't take anything that belongs somewhere else. We encourage you, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, tithe to your local church where you go to worship and to fellowship and to belong. But with sacrificial giving, we encourage you, if you'd like to give towards the ministries that we do to teach people the good news of gardening, the good news of eternity through being self-sustaining. We teach a lot of folks in third world countries. We teach them the gospel by teaching them to provide food for themselves, their families, and others. That's what Raised does. And our motto is raised beds, raised crops, raised hopes. The beds obviously are the raised bed gardens. This is Pastor Jerry with Raised. May God bless you and keep you on this wonderful day.